everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of what I'm going to be calling GodSaw's Turnbuckle. This is the new wrestling podcast. It's something I've been doing in the terms of just making reviews in the past. I'm kind of turning it into subtle podcast style, but not fully one yet, because I'm not going to be on iTunes or anything like that, at least not for the time being. I'm not going to be over there. It's pretty much going to be sticking over here on YouTube side. I just want to go over a little bit of things if you're just tuning in for the first time. It's going to be one of those podcasts, like I go through the episodes of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Impact Wrestling, things like that. But I do them one episode at a time. Unfortunately, this week I'm filming everything really late, so we're going to get a lot of episodes right off the bat, back to back. We're going to have Raw, and then we're going to have a SmackDown one, then we're going to have an NXT one, and then I'm also going to release my predictions video for NXT and for the NXT TakeOver and the Backlash pay-per-views, and then also an Impact one. So we're going to be getting a lot of them in a short period of time. I'm going to try to do... I'm either going to try different formats and everything for them at some point in time, but for the time being, I'm going to be sticking to my typical format that I had done for my other wrestling reviews, which it was just one episode at a time. So like you would just get Raw in one episode, you would get SmackDown in one episode, you would get NXT in one episode, then you would get Impact in one episode. Though I am doing things a little bit different with the prediction side of everything. I'm doing both NXT and Backlash predictions within the same video. But that's just kind of where everything's going here. I'm going to probably keep my footage where it's like kind of raw footage, so you get kind of everything in there for the time being, until maybe I can create a logo or an intro for the show. There's a couple things that I haven't been able to get done, but I've been wanting to get a name behind this for a while, and now I'm deciding to just go ahead and and do it, and then I'll be working on other things to get to seem like it's a maybe not more legit thing, but something more for you guys to see in that sense of it, and maybe throw a little bit of editing to go along with it So with that being said, that's introducing GodSaw's Turnbuckle for the time being. So let's get right into it with Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw on May 15th, 2017. They start off the show with Angle in the ring. He basically makes all of the announcements that you needed. He was saying Braun's going to be out for 6 months after elbow surgery, though. I think they're kayfabing that a little bit. And it should only be about 4 to 8 weeks. Though I guess there is a chance he's out for 6 months as well. So we'll see how everything goes on that. So he announces at not Elimination Chamber, but at Extreme Rules, that there will be a Fatal 5-Way. I like certain aspects of this. I liked how for everybody in the Fatal 5-Way match, because it's supposed to be for number one contendership for Brock Lesnar's Universal title. I like how they already made all of the match graphics. So they had like one for Samoa Joe, one for Seth Rollins, one for Finn Balor, one for Bray Wyatt, and one for Roman Reigns. So he announces them by showing the match graphics. I ended up liking things. I liked things in that sense for it. But as Angle's going to leave, because that's all he was going to do right off the bat, he gets interrupted and Roman Reigns comes out. And this is kind of just becomes a trickle-down effect to set up everything for the night. The segment itself in the end wasn't bad, but it was kind of overcrowded because, okay, Roman Reigns comes out, he cuts a promo. Finn Balor comes out, he starts cutting a promo on Roman Reigns, talking about how he beat him on his first night there and everything to go along with it. Joe comes out to cut his promo. I like how Bray Wyatt, instead of just coming out, the lights go out, he just appears. As he's starting to cut his promo, Seth Rollins comes out as well. He's cutting a promo. A big brawl ensues, and Finn Balor stands tall at the end. In the end, it wasn't a bad way of setting up the rest of the night, but in the grand scheme of it as well, it was kind of just like, Yeah, let's just get everybody out there. Everybody just needs to be out there right now. Get your little get a little promo in and everything in that sense. It wasn't all that great, but it did what it needed to do for the night. You had a backstage segment right after this with Rollins, Reigns, and Balor. All three of them are kind of arguing still over everything, even though they have this match set up for Extreme Rules. Angle comes in, it's like, remember, we settle things in the ring. He goes ahead and makes a match with Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt for later in the night, and then he makes a match between Roman Reigns and Finn Balor. I like how he did it too. It's like, and you two are going to have a match. Respectively going to have a match. So it made it feel like he was going to make two matches instead of just the one. And he's like, nope, it's against each other. Okay, that was good stuff. That was okay stuff as well. I won't say really good stuff, but it was good enough. And like I said, it's set up for the rest of the night. The first match they had of the night was Jeff Hardy going up against Sheamus. This was a decent match. This was a decent match between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. Obviously, Cesaro and Matt Hardy were also out there during this time frame. Man, do I really want Matt Hardy to just be able to go broken at some point in time. I'm not growing tired of this pseudo in between for Matt Hardy and the whole aspect of them being more the Hardy Boys and everything in that sense. Not growing tired of that, but I think a lot of people want to actually see how the broken character translates to the bigger stage. Does it translate well? Does it not translate well? Who knows? Who knows in that one? Jeff Hardy goes over in this match. I think this is a setup for them to finally put the tag team titles on Sheamus and Cesaro again, because this is kind of how they did going into the Payback pay-per-view as well. Cesaro lost to Jeff Hardy, and Sheamus lost to Matt Hardy going into the pay-per-view. They lost, they turned heel. So they're kind of playing that again, leading into this pay-per-view. And I would think that they're going to try to probably put those tag team titles back on Cesaro and Sheamus. And maybe that's where they start doing the singles runs for both Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy afterwards. Next, we had another match with Sasha Banks going up against Alicia Fox. This was an alright match. It was interesting to see Alicia Fox go over in this match, but also they're really not doing anything with Sasha Banks right now, so why not have some kind of feud where she has to come back if they're going to keep her face for the time being, or have her start a losing streak to be the catalyst, the final catalyst to her turning heel down the road. So all in all, in the end, like I said, all right match. And if they're using this as a way to be like the final catalyst for Sasha Banks to go heel at some point, this is it's probably all right in the end to go along with it. So up next was The Miz going up against Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental title. This was one of those where you thought, it's like, they've been building this up for a week. Why is this not the main event of the show? But instead they put it on at the end of the first hour. All in all, the match was actually really good. They put on some good matches over on SmackDown. I thought they put on a pretty good match here, and what we got at the end does set up for more down the road. Because the end of the match, you had Dean Ambrose, or not Dean Ambrose, but you had Miz when Maurice was distracting the referee trying to go for a low blow, and Dean Ambrose catches it and then returns the favor, but in front of the referee. In front of the referee, causing the disqualification. So you are going to expect another match down the line, which they do an angle backstage to do that. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the one thing I ended up liking about this was when they were going back on the replays and showing that Miz was trying to go for the low blow first. I love how Corey Graves explains it. He was going for a strong style inner thigh lock to try to roll him up or something like that. It was pretty funny. He was trying to explain that he wasn't going for a low blow. He's only going for the inner thigh. It was pretty good. I like Corey Graves on commentary. I think he's really good with everything. Up next, you had a backstage interview with Finn Balor. Kind of kind of basic, well, not maybe basic, but just kind of talking about the fact that he had faced Roman Reigns, he's beaten Roman Reigns before, everything in that sense, kind of preluding to the match later in the evening with him and Roman Reigns. So actually, before we go into the Alexa Bliss Bayley stuff, I'm going to talk about you had Angle and Miz backstage. So they come back from a commercial break, and Angle's on the phone. He's talking with, I think, Sami Zayn, or he's talking with somebody, not too happily, on the phone. And Miz is in there, and he was making the match with he was making a match with Miz and Dean Ambrose for Extreme Rules, but obviously Miz isn't just happy getting another match. It's like, he wants a match where the title can change hands on a disqualification, which he ends up getting. So you're going to have an Extreme Rules event where a title can change hands on disqualification. That one always leaves my head scratching, and then again, it's not the only match stipulation that left my head scratching, and I'll talk about that one in a little bit too. But after the match was made and it was agreed upon on that, Angle and Maurice argue, and Maurice is going in full French, and you have Angle trying to do pseudo French to go along with it. It was pretty funny stuff with between the two of them, and then the Drifter walks in, and I just like how the Drifter just walks around strumming the guitar, not saying a word, not talking. I like Angle's reactions, like, "Can I help you?" He just starts strumming the guitar and walks away again. It was good stuff. I like this segment. I thought this segment came off really well. Up next was Alexa Bliss coming out, cutting a promo. Alexa Bliss, she's great on the microphone. I'm gonna give her that. She's also she was able to, even though this was cheap heel heat, downgrading the city and everything in that sense, it was getting heel heat, which I thought was a good way of going. This does eventually have Bayley interrupt her and basically announce that she was getting her rematch at Extreme Rules. And of course, Alexa Bliss just starts putting down Bayley in every way, shape, or form, like pretty much how they typically go. It's like she's called a child. It's like, and also they play off the aspect that she always tries to play by the rules, so she doesn't get the aspect of Extreme Rules and being able to do whatever she wants. So she eventually talks down Bayley enough to have her do something uncharacteristic, which is go after and try to brawl. And then eventually Alexa gains control and grabs a kendo stick from the bottom of the ring and whacks it across the back and the neck area of Bayley, which was a pretty stiff shot. They did a pretty good one, though. Bayley super sold this one like it was one kendo stick shot could take her out in a match or in a situation like that. But all in all, not a bad segment. But this also brings to another backstage segment where they made a match, or officially made the match with Bayley and Alexa Bliss. Kurt Angle comes in. He starts talking to Bayley. He's like, "I know you like to play by the rules, so I'm gonna go ahead and make it a one-on-one normal match, no stipulations, no anything for Extreme Rules." And this is what I liked. The reason why I like this one is because afterwards it's like Bayley basically says, "Wait a minute, it's supposed to be Extreme Rules. I've been mocked. I've had my family mocked. She's called me a child, and I don't get a chance to." And then of course she gets hit in the back with gets hit with a kendo stick. It's like she doesn't get a chance at vengeance, and she tries to actually. The reason why I like this promo, it's one of those few times that Bayley is shown that she has a point to prove in any of her matches, instead of just being the way that they had typically depicted her as just like carefree, loving everything in that sense. Now she feels like she has a point to prove in a match, and I was liking everything in this one until Kurt Angle decided to make it a kendo stick on a pole match. Everything was great until that. Everything was great until the stipulation was named. But otherwise, good backstage segment. And like I said, one of those few times, and one of those few promos from Bayley is like, oh, she actually has a point to prove. She's not just there, trying to have fun. It's like, no, she wants to get vengeance on this person. Okay, they're going somewhere with this. I ended up liking what that was. Up next to talk about was Neville and TJP going up against Jack Gallagher and Austin Aries. This was another decent match between both teams here. Obviously, just kind of thrown together though. Aries and Jack Gallagher have kind of been working together against TJP and Neville for the time being. I thought the match itself was good. The crowd was kind of dead for it, but then again, they've been kind of trained to be not caring about these particular matches in any way, shape, or form. But otherwise, I thought it was a pretty decent match. I'm liking how they're working over this knee angle with Austin Aries. And he's selling it out pretty well, though. He did do a few spots where it's like, oh, I just jumped up. But they did work over the knee a little bit more in this match, and they had Neville and TJP going over when TJP got the pin on Jack Gallagher. You had a backstage promo later in the night as well with both of them, talking about how they were going to take out Austin Aries, because you had TJP who's trying to impress Neville to get a cruiserweight title match, but Neville's kind of like always backtracking a little bit. It's like, no, we still have an Austin Aries problem, which we're going to take care of tomorrow night on 205 Live, in that sense of it. So not bad stuff, but it's still hard to get that. The crowd is still like really hard to get behind everything in this one, and it's unfortunate because they do put on good matches, but most of the crowd ends up not really caring in the end. Then again, when they're put in front of a live crowd at the end of with 205 Live, when you're put in a live crowd that just went through SmackDown, and a good chunk of them end up leaving before 205 Live even goes on the air, with everything, it's kind of hard for the rest of the fans to kind of get behind them. I'm enjoying the cruiserweight stuff, but you could tell a lot of the other fans aren't. At this point in time. And hopefully that'll change down the road here. Up next to talk about is actually the Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns match. This is a very good match. I'm not gonna lie on this one. I did thoroughly enjoy this match. Yeah, did they not necessarily need to have a clean victory for Roman Reigns in this one? Yeah, they probably didn't. But I think in the end it does kind of work out. I don't think they're gonna be. They're kind of having Roman Reigns get one over here because I don't think they're going to have him go over at the Fatal 5-Way. Because if you know the rumor mill, that it's more than likely that it'll be at WrestleMania when he faces Brock Lesnar. But we'll see how everything goes off on that one. I did thoroughly enjoy this match, though. Roman Reigns and Finn Balor both worked really well together. I thought it came off really good on all sides. And yeah, there's nothing really bad to say about this match, and I can't really say Roman going over in this match is really a bad thing because I really actually don't hate Roman Reigns not as much as a lot of the other fans do that are in the crowds, but that's just how I feel on things. But yeah, overall good match. I don't think it hurts Finn Balor in the end. And yeah, we'll see where they continue on with everything going into this Fatal 5-Way. They only got a couple more weeks on that one. Up next was actually a bunch of kind of promo areas. You had Bray Wyatt cutting a promo on both Brock Lesnar, so basically like saying, I'm going to win the Fatal 5-Way. And then also on Seth Rollins for later on the night. He actually... This is one of the few times that his promos, they come off in that creepy sense, but they come off making sense. Like the stuff he was talking about just made a little bit more sense than it had done before. It didn't feel like he was talking gibberish in that sense. Then don't get me wrong, I like Bray Wyatt, I like his promos. But it seemed like there was a logical direction, and the promo just came off not fluid, but just came off making more sense in the end of what his goals are and what he needed to be doing. And then, of course, right after this, you immediately got, they went to commercial break, I think, after that one. And then come back with a Seth Rollins promo on his match with Bray Wyatt for that night. And then this sets up the Golden Truth going up, what was going to be going up against Gallows and Anderson. You had a promo earlier in the night, R-Truth coming in, apologizing to Goldust and everything about the week before. Goldust giving him a great pep talk and everything in that sense, and saying that we're the Golden Truth and we're going to go out there, we're going to get everything started right now. And then, of course, lo and behold, you have that pep talk earlier in the night, and then Goldust turns on R-Truth later in the evening when they're doing their entrance. R-Truth was saying what's up, and then Goldust just attacks him, and I thought this was good. It was a good way of going about it. It's like you kind of thought that they were going to have Goldust turn on R-Truth, but I like the aspect that they didn't just wait for the match. They didn't even have the match in the end. It was Goldust just attacks him before the match. It's like, nope, we're done. We're completely done with this. Goldust beats him down, and then he finishes off with saying, and now that's what's up. That's pretty good. It was pretty good stuff for what they were doing there, and it will lead to at least something small and small storyline between the two of them. And then we'll see where they go with Goldust and R-Truth afterwards. I would assume if you have Goldust turning, they have something for him after R-Truth. I don't think they're going to have anything for R-Truth down the line. At least it doesn't seem like they will. But we'll see where they go with everything. Up next to talk about though was Enzo and Cass. So they're coming out they were coming out there doing their typical shtick, and I ended up loving this one because you had Titus O'Neil come out with Apollo Crews. They interrupt in the middle of their in the middle of the promo, and you have Titus O'Neil in suit and everything. He's mocking Enzo at every way, shape, or form. Titus O'Neil is really good on the microphone. Like outside of that 1 week he just stumbled over everything, he's really proven that he is good on the microphone. And I just like his mannerisms and everything he did out there. I also like the aspect that you have Apollo Crews throughout the entire time trying to indicate, because they have Titus believing that it's Apollo Crews versus Enzo, but you have Apollo trying to explain to Titus, no, it's you versus Cass. And then eventually, like, Cass does iterate that. It's like, you have Titus like, I'm not going to wrestle in this suit, which obviously Enzo doesn't care about. Or not Enzo, but Cass doesn't end up caring about. That goes into the match. And it pretty much squash match. Overall fun segment, though, with Cass going over in this match. But what I ended up liking as well is you have this kind of thing where you have Apollo Crews, who's not completely sold on the Titus brand thing, but he is recognizing that Titus is trying to help him in some way. So you have Enzo after the match trying to mock the whole selfie thing that they've been doing after every match. So Enzo's trying to take a selfie with Apollo Crews trying to help out Titus O'Neil, and then Apollo Crews just does that jumping enziguri that he typically does to knock out Enzo. So basically kind of saying Apollo Crews is fully with Titus O'Neil at this time. So it seems like he's going full on with the Titus brand for the time being, and we'll see how everything plays off on that one. So this brings us into the main event of the night, which was Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins. This was another good match. I did enjoy this match, and it did go where it needed to go with this one, because if they did nothing with Samoa Joe after that first segment where he just got a quick promo and then gets interrupted by everything, it would have really kind of demeaned Samoa Joe in some way, shape, or form. At least that's how I felt. But the aspect of him coming out there and going after Seth Rollins, causing the DQ, and you see, like, initially Bray Wyatt being very angry at Samoa Joe, and then they just both go after Seth Rollins. And it making it lead to believe it's like, oh, so Seth Rollins or Samoa Joe and Bray Wyatt are going to team up briefly just to beat up Seth Rollins, which was kind of the case. But then it seemed like, but it seemed like Samoa Joe's going to leave. He's like, I've had enough. Or he had enough beating up Seth Rollins, and he gets laid out by Bray Wyatt, who ends up laying out both guys with Sister Abigail, and having Bray Wyatt stand tall. So you have, even though Bray doesn't win a match, he ends up standing tall because it wasn't like he lost the match by pinfall or submission. He lost because of disqualification because Samoa Joe just wants to beat up on Seth Rollins. And he ends up standing tall in the end because he leaves both Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins' line in the ring as they go off the air. So not a bad way. Like, I enjoyed the match going leading up to the DQ as well. I thought it came off really well. And overall, though, this week's Raw, I guess, was okay. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't very good. It wasn't like it was a very good Raw. They at least set up matches for Extreme Rules, everything in that sense. So you're getting a lot of stuff set up in there, which they needed to do going into that particular pay-per-view. So yeah, they did what they needed to do in that case. It came off all right. It didn't come off all that good, but it didn't come off all that bad either, in the sense of everything. So, with that being said, everybody, that is my first episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. I thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day.